Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the fucking money, shithead?
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
Fuck sympathy? I don't need your fucking sympathy, man. I need my fucking Johnson. What do you need that for, dude? Hello, my friends. Here we are for another exciting evening at the Good Talk podcast. We fucking love being here. I'm throwing out more dude lines. I felt like I was really Walter-centric throughout the first chunk of our podcasts, and I got to give the dude a little bit of love, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's his movie.
Yeah, dude, it is. It's all about the dude and his rug, and why the fuck did the Chinaman pee on it, and why was he called an asshole after those guys totally fucking ruined his life.
Out of all that, I only learned that the Chinaman is not the issue.
He's not the issue here, dude. My partner here is Chris Raub. Hello, my friend.
Hello, dude.
And we have with us, we really fucked up on a technicality and lost an episode with this amazing guest, so we had to get him back. We had to reevaluate his mind. This is futurist, author, and tattoo artist Justin R. Martin from Pose Muse.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, how's it feel to
Welcome
be
back
here?
for the first time, as far as the audience knows.
Well, no, I
This
introduced
is the
you,
first episode?
and that's where we got to give everybody a correction, because like
All right.
when we uploaded the second episode, I introduced you. I was like, oh, we're welcoming back Justin R. Martin,
Oh,
and so like it's like they got an episode from the future.
Nice.
Somewhere out there in another ether, that first episode exists.
Yes.
Somebody
Okay.
got it.
That's
There
all
are
right.
infinite timelines where that uploaded completely
Perfectly. Yep.
But not in this
Not this
timeline.
one.
So
Say one of them.
Justin knows the drill, man. We are going to throw the net of our rapturous questions around his brain, and we're going to see what kind of shit we can drag on out of there. How's that sound, bud?
It sounds great. I'm
Sounds
cold tonight, so it's going to be slow.
We got to fire it up. For those listening elsewhere, friendly reminder here in the frozen tundra of North Dakota, it's like negative 74 below. Animals are freezing outside. Like it's crazy. It's frozen death.
In full run, too. Like, they're just, like, in middle, freezing full gate.
Yeah. Raub and Justin are here, and they essentially risked frozen death to embark on a journey.
It only costs 2 toes.
People drive like their tires have frozen. Like they're driving on what's not a slick road, but they're driving as if their tires are made out of ice.
Yeah.
And so...
Why is it that you see even four-wheel drive trucks driving around in two-wheel drive and at stop signs sitting there spinning the tires? You're like,
all-wheel drive.
I'm in four-wheel drive and I'm fine just driving around. You're like, leave it in. You're being dumb.
So we have this really fucking awesome question, and this is for all the geeks of the world that listen to us. I hope there's a bunch of you, and even if you're not a geek, this question is still pretty fucking awesome. And Justin, he shares a similar adoration for all things fantasy and comic books, so we had to jam on this question. What, Justin, do you think for you? Again, there's no right or wrong answer with the Good Talk 5. There's simply no third answers, and we'd love to hear you at the Good Talk 5 on Twitter. We want to know your thoughts on our questions. We've actually started a new Facebook group. It is public. It is the Good Talk Discussion Network. We would love to connect with you guys there. Come be a part of our network. So, Justin, better fantasy setting. Medieval dragons, sorcery, wizards, warriors, or future, like your lasers and robots, spaceships and teleportation, and the sky's the limit. You can carry this in whatever direction you want. Do you want like the magic, or do you want like the technology, the future?
Well, I think that the fantasy realm with the magic. You know what? Just let them know. This is the question you asked me. On the lost
we had to jam on this
in
one.
the lost episode, I said the medieval fantasy D&D because I'm a D&D person. I said that, and I really believed it when I said it.
Sure.
And I've
This has happened
This
before.
has happened before.
This is not uncharted territory.
I'm now thinking that maybe the future stuff would be way cooler because it's the future, and it's like any technology that's significantly advanced,
indistinguishable from magic anyway.
so
Right,
I
you-
could have both.
You
I
had
could
a
have
really
can.
fear of that dystopian future, though. You didn't in this world see the.
Oh no,
the
it's not a
vision.
fear. You don't understand. No, I'm afraid I'd take over. Honestly, I'm afraid that I would rule that world. So I fear for all of you in the dystopian
How-
future.
Pinky and the brain.
when
how
I
are you ruling,
watch
like-
Mad Max, I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, Pinky and the Brain complex.
Yeah.
So you're more
Yes.
of the fucking
I told somebody the other day that I
Immortan Joe ruler and less the total like artificial intelligent unified robot army ruler.
I really can't wait for the day that my cell phone is my best friend. Like it, talks with you, you talk back to it, like they do in the movie Her.
Her?
Where
was
it's
actually
just
really
your
well done. That was a
best
lot better
buddy.
than I thought it was
And
gonna
it's
be.
like, can you imagine anything in your life that knows you better than your cell phone and your,
Sadly,
It's,
no, I can't.
It's imagine having a completely honest relationship with one person. It's really hard to do that in the real world, and it would be nice to have an AI that just wouldn't judge you.
Sure.
That's
know?
incredible.
Or if they dared start judging you, just hit erase.
Do we have a more powerful connection, whether we know it or not, with our cell phones now at this juncture than really we could ever have realized before with any type of sort of inanimate object? Or is it not an inanimate object?
It's a well understood psychological thing that human beings massage the truth for one another to make things, because I don't know what you're expecting to hear, so there's a chance 1 out of 10 that I'm just going to lie to you because
Sure.
I think it's easier.
Yeah.
Or I think it's what you want to hear, and I just don't think I would have that problem with my digital AI. I really don't. I
You have
think
nothing to
there's-
gain.
Why would I lie to it?
You have nothing to gain
It,
by
it
lying
could. It
to-
couldn't help me. It couldn't help me by lying to it.
Not really,
and so
no.
if it goes, oh hey, what did you have for lunch today? Instead of being honest and saying I had half a pizza, I'd be like, well, I had a slice of pizza and an energy
Right.
drink, and tried to like BS my way through it.
Yeah.
There's I would with a normal person, because I don't want you to judge me. So, but that impulse to lie, I think, would just go, or to massage the truth would just go away, and
It would certainly fade over time as
I
you
just
see
feel
less and less benefit.
no, I mean
to
you'd
doing
still lie to people,
Your-
but
your
you wouldn't have to
natural-
lie to your best friend, the telephone. That's
Right.
Or why do we call it a phone still? I haven't made a phone call on my phone in a long time.
If there's one thing I wish it didn't do,
Yeah.
was make phone calls.
right, it's the worst.
I want my phone to stop ringing at all
I do.
times. Just send me. I guess in a lot of ways I disagree with that. I miss the old days of the conversation, hearing people's voices. I think
Gross.
is still very important. Look at us here. We wouldn't, we wouldn't be doing this through some sort of silly text communication. You can't have the beauty and the glory of podcasting
Right,
and
yeah.
live conversations. I don't feel like you get the same level of brainstorm network from simple texting in that fashion. I don't feel like spelling please as PLZ or text as TXT is a more efficient means of communication. If anything, there's a level of stupefaction that has occurred throughout the usage of text messaging. Not everybody has the dialect to communicate. People are uncomfortable with whether or not they're going to misspell or have grammatical errors. Your phone fucks up and miscorrects things for you. So I think the beauty of conversation is still very important, and
Sure.
I miss those old
I
phone
just
calls.
prefer it face to face.
Yeah, sure, that's good. That's a fair assessment
The
too.
phone is too alienating. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Where are you at, Raub? Where do you see what's the better fantasy setting for you, man? Do you want the future spaceships? So I mean, would you go lightsabers? What are you doing in your future?
I'm the future explorer. I've got the science ship geared for understanding and
Just you want
expansion.
deep space. Would you have a crew?
No Man's Sky.
A crew of automatons, I would suppose.
You'd want a crew of AI.
At least 2 or 3 of those guys.
Like
that are,
like the movie Small Soldiers, just the little tiny action figure
a
dudes.
few of those, and then a few medium-sized. Maybe we're
Somebody
gonna need
could
some
fetch a
heavy.
beer.
We're gonna need some heavy lifting done too.
It just needs
So it's
big
gonna be a
enough
lot
to
of work.
carry a beer.
Right? Yeah.
Exploring colonies. I mean,
And they all can wear red shirts. They are completely dispensable.
Oh, there you go.
every last one of them.
Every last master.
Would you have like a machine in your exploratory ship that could just replicate and produce these guys for you?
I'm actually imagining it like a vending machine where it's like A7, that's the one I want, and then it falls.
Like every time you land on a ship, you're able to assess it from the sky. Be like, all right, this place, I don't see a lot of hostility here. We're gonna land. I'm gonna produce like 3 farming AIs. I'm gonna press the farming AI button. They're gonna deploy. They're gonna start establishing my area. Then I'm gonna put 2. And then you could limit. You'd have like 7, right? Your ship could make like 7 of them.
But
right? Just to limit, you got to apply like a little bit of a limit and then you can just sort of deploy them, and they'd have their own little tasks.
Well, they can be self-replicating too. So I've essentially conquered your planet.
That's a von Neumann probe.
The self-replicating ones.
If they self-replicate, wouldn't you fear their eventual takeover? That's the robot wars.
At that point, I fear nothing.
Oh, so you think you're in control?
He's got the ship. He can always leave him.
Right. Well, yeah.
You're just gonna abandon automaton planets all over the fucking galaxy? What are you doing?
Boy, that's very human of me.
That is. Oh, let me set up an army of automatons on this planet, and then
I'll grow bored of it.
Oh, I'm tired of this now. I can't press the off switch on these guys. I guess they just rule.
This green planet's dumb. Let me go see this red planet. Like, green was so last year.
How very human of you.
That's very human of me.
I've got to play contrarian in this one. I'm not taking a unified stance. I'm rolling fantasy setting in medieval lore. I find myself being some sort of crazy, not a necromancer, but definitely a sorcerer. I can control animals. I think I would have power over beasts in addition to my sorcery.
Animal army. You are very. I
am
all in on an animal army.
I am all
one way or another.
But I would have dragons in this one.
Well, this
right?
one, chimpanzees, lions, and now dragons.
Now I'd have dragons. And one of my most powerful spells amongst many others, but I would fucking hit you with an ice bolt that as soon as it hit you, it would freeze you, and as you froze, it would instantly incinerate you from the inside out, and you would boil down and end in a puddle of water, and then your water would feed the nutrients of the soul, and a tree would grow out of that and become part of my army.
The army of trees.
Fuck, it's how it would go.
The nice thing, see, in
trees
my future,
and fucking
I can have that
animals.
Too, though.
And I'm fucking ruling, and I'm casting spells, and then my highest level spell, I would create like a fucking molecular blizzard that just completely disassembled everybody and everything in there. Boom.
That's like gray goo.
Yeah.
And and I guess
that's right.
What really happens, and so
Nanobots.
Justin sort of already answered this a little bit, but how do you see yourself, and this is going to be our good talk question number 2, how do you see yourself in your own fantasy story? Do you see yourself playing out as the hero, or do you see yourself playing out as the villain? How do you think that works for you and in your setting here?
In the setting that we just discussed.
For sure, or in whatever setting you want, in the setting of your own fantasy story. Are you a hero or a villain? Or are you,
Well, I'm the hero in my narrative always. But that comes from my.
Aren't you like the
it
beer
comes
can?
From my lack of self-esteem. It comes from my impulse to always make sure the other people around me are happier than I am. I don't know what that comes from.
I can identify.
I have a customer service background. Like
Sure.
I've been a bellman and a bell captain and a doorman and out in a fancy hotel where you run out and get the door. Hello, welcome to the Ojai Valley Inn and Country Club.
Oh, cool.
And hello, Mr. Famous guy. So having that as like an ingrained background, it's still like the hero part of me is still like, hello, welcome. I've done it before. Welcome to Walmart. Come on in.
What can I do for you?
And so no, I don't see myself just effing somebody over just for the fun of it. There's not an evil impulse like that inside me. I really's not. And there are times when I envy people who can just detach and be completely, totally self-centered assholes.
At times, definitely. But I agree with you. I just do
I've
not
tried.
have that bone in me.
There's a certain
It's really
strength.
difficult.
There's a certain strength in both. I mean, there really is. And ultimately, I think being able to maintain a foot in both of those worlds sort of come back to the balance that we want to all achieve when it comes to our personal lives. Everybody wants to really be the hero. I sort of see in a crazy fantasy setting, if I get all powerful, if I had this crazy level of influence, perhaps I would spread I would become like the villain eventually. I would start out as the hero, And I think that, through my own acts of attempts of benevolence and trying to unify, and I might make a misstep because you just don't know how the network is connected, and you think you're doing the right thing, and then every choice you make obviously has consequences that you never would have perceived, and the morality line gets crossed somewhere, and I think I'd slip into villainy.
It could be a tale borrowed from someplace that, like an old book or something, but there was a Futurama episode where Bender has he's drifting through space.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got the people growing on him.
Yeah.
It's called Godfellas is the name of the episode.
Yep.
And essentially that's what played out is he had all the greatest intentions in the world, and he's God to these, to these people that are growing on him. And he has all the greatest intentions in the world, but the more he acts, the more he's just fucking shit up.
The
right?
more
like
he tries to help, the more
he's trying to help,
Yeah.
the more problems he's causing, and essentially, he learned the whole God paradigm and paradox is it's just essentially best left alone.
The reason why God's indifferent is because every time God tries to help, he screws things up.
It's just gonna cause another flood because you were thirsty or your crops aren't growing, so it got a little bit too hot and the ice melted a little too much, and now you've got flooding, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that echo effect, that ripple effect that occurs from those really intense, powerful decisions.
It was probably my favorite episode of Futurama.
Dude, I always kind of liked Futurama, but I never got on with it as intensely as what I consider much better cartoons and stuff like Bob's Burgers or Family Guy.
Excellent. Love that show.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Futurama lovers. No love lost. I think it's good. I'm just not like bam. Yeah, yep. Justin, you're big time Futurama.
Oh, since the start. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's cool.
As an evolution of The Simpsons, it was just terrific. And
see, and I never liked The Simpsons quite
Groening,
as much as the other ones either.
He had such great writers, and it was so good. And it was just corny, like he falls into this cryogenic tube in the year 2000, pushed, and then he wakes up 1,000 years later, like nobody noticed he was in the tube. It was hysterical.
Yep.
Like, I love
Futurama. I've seen
every
episode.
Like, have you seen that new TV show, The Last Man on Earth?
Oh, yeah. I've watched the first two
so
seasons.
Good.
Did they ever pick it back up and finish it?
I think they're in season 3.
Or did they? Okay.
Yeah.
I need to catch back up. It's on Hulu.
It's pretty great, though.
Good stuff.
It's that whole idea of that you can just be as ridiculous as you want when you think nobody's watching.
Yeah.
See, and
who's the guy in the
I like the concept of being as crazy or ridiculous as you want, but I suppose in my vision of it, I see it as the Westworld option as opposed to the Last Man on Earth option.
Every bit of fiction I think I wrote in high school was sort of like the secular rapture idea. It was sort of based on the Dawn of the Dead movie where all those people are holed up in a mall.
Yeah.
And so all of my fiction was all the teenagers in high school wake up and everybody else has gone off the earth, and what do you do? And I would literally put my friends through the paces like an RPG. I would be like, okay, you wake up tomorrow and everybody's just gone. What do you do? And it's always, and the best part is I've heard comedians go, well, nobody's guarding the Lexus dealership, and it always wound up being I'm stealing a car, I'm
fighter
taking
jet.
a house, and then,
fighter jets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're doing that.
You'd be so fucked. You
for
get
sure.
behind
What a
that
way to
like
go.
You're crashing it. What a way to go.
Well, in the Last
Man
Man on
crashing on the runway because that's what's going to happen.
I'm going to crash that
in the
fighter
Last
jet.
Man
I
on
guarantee you.
In The Last Man on Earth, there's actually an episode where
he's got a B-2 bomber.
He's got a B-2 bomber, but he doesn't know how to fly it, so he's driving it around a city.
He's trying to set the parking brake, and he ends up dropping a bomb. It wasn't armed, but it just hits the ground.
It just plops
Dropped
out.
a missile off of it.
It's a great show. You just check it out. It's fun. It's awesome. It's on Hulu. Last Man on Earth. Will Forte is the guy, and Will Forte is goddamn hilarious.
The cast is
Kristen
so good.
Shaw, she's in Bob's Burgers. She plays Louise.
I fucking love Bob's Burgers.
Oh, she's great. Yeah.
What, Justin, I'm assuming you must watch Bob's Burgers then?
I've seen episodes.
Okay, you've only seen episodes.
I'm a big, honestly, my animated life has been all about Rick and Morty the last couple of years. So
I really need to catch up on that.
If you haven't
Rick
seen
and
it,
I've
Morty
seen
is
the
just
key episodes.
It's so intense.
The simulation theory episode.
But-
It's the key ones, but I need to watch them
Bob's
all.
Burgers is legit.
It is very good.
Yeah.
That's my favorite current on air.
Anything H. John Benjamin, come on. Archer, Bob's Burgers, home movies.
I've never watched the
I know Rub loves
know.
Louise. Big Louise fan.
Yeah,
right?
she's
from
great.
Bob's
Louise
Burgers.
is my
That's
favorite. Louise or Jean.
see, and I'm Tina. Dude, Tina's
Louise
my
or Jean?
I'm all about the Tina. Hey, is Gene voiced by like Patton Oswalt, isn't he?
No, it's Eugene
It's
Merriman.
not? Oh, okay.
He's
Damn, he sounds
super
like
smart
Patton Oswalt.
dude. He's like he hosted a symposium one time with Neil deGrasse Tyson and a few other world rocking scientists, and he's up there with his Gene voice because it's his real voice.
But
He's not doing
That's just
a
his
voice
real
to do
voice.
just
Oh,
his
so
real
there's
voice.
no alteration
So he's
there.
essentially
It's
up there
hilarious.
as Gene introducing Neil deGrasse Tyson to do this incredible symposium in it was at Carnegie Hall or something, and he's a super smart dude.
But that's what they're famous for, their voice. I mean, that's when
That's what gets you there.
oh my lord.
Yeah.
I love
good.
it. Well, where are you, Raub? Hero, villain? What's your story? You're becoming. I think you're a hero, right?
I have
You're
I have such that bleeding heart that I'm always going to be trying for the hero position, regardless of how many times I might fail or how much damage I'll cause in the meantime. I realize that the situation is so complicated, trying to save everyone, but I'll probably give myself gray hair trying.
I love it, and for me, again, villainy, but it starts out very idealistic.
Sure.
I slip into the void.
Yeah.
If you stare too long into the abyss,
The void stares back.
yeah, the abyss stares back into you. Very much love that line. We're gonna rock right into our third question, and we're gonna swing deep on this one. Where do you see more power residing, and why? Is it in emotion or logic? And why so often does it seem, as I identify it, emotion trumps logic where it shouldn't? And is there a system or habits we can put into place for people so that they're allowed to allow logic and or perhaps objectivity and empathy rule more than the rage of emotion?
Well, to me, emotion is the lightning bolt, and so it affects a lot immediately, and logic is the tide, and it actually changes the world in the long term. It's so our
you can't
crawl
deny
up
it.
from the dark ages has been long and arduous and steady. According to, you can
Sure.
follow Moore's law all the way back to Gutenberg. And it is just the march of logic. It's
Right.
just the march of the thinking man.
Yeah.
Now, when stuff needs to get changed immediately, it's emotion that changes it.
Right.
They didn't end the Vietnam War because everybody was logically thinking that one through.
Right.
They changed it because people started standing up to the point where they were just like, shoot me, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
This has to end.
And the emotional response back home and
You
all
know,
of that.
and that's but it has its purpose, and I think
Absolutely
it works
it
out very
does.
well. So in the long term, I think they both have their merits for sure. And you can't, if you have one without the other, I think you're worse off. I think I don't like the whole. Whenever I watch, I'm so happy with the new Star Trek in that they're making the Vulcan. They're making Spock a little more human than he was.
Quinto's doing a great
Yeah,
job. as
than
Spock.
Leonard Nimoy's was, because when they allow him to empathize.
Yeah.
It's a good character.
Right.
And so, but having one without the other,
You're not human.
well, you're being a machine, or
You're
being
taking one of
or
those two
being
things
an
away.
animal.
It's
So-
not. I don't know that it's is it our emotions that make us human, or is it our consciousness? Is it? I think that you can still reside within your consciousness and present a logical stance that warrants merit and morals without the foolery and fuckery that emotion can get you into.
Well, I think
It's not to say that you're axing or voiding emotion, but we let our emotions rule us. It's why we oftentimes tell our children, or you're teaching somebody to meditate, or if you get upset, count to 10, because what's going to happen? You're gonna react illogically if your emotions are ruling you somehow, whether it's from grief or anger or angst or anything in between.
A great deal of our behavior, as it originates from passion or from feeling emotion, I guess just throw this against the wall. Does it have something to do perhaps with denying what you saw as the logical course and not liking it, and so thereby denying it and creating this other response? You're in denial. You're no longer logical, so you're grasping for direction, and that's only going to come from a point of feeling, of emotion.
Emotionally, you sort of can see a situation and misidentify it and allow yourself to jump to conclusions that aren't there.
Right.
But emotion can also if you're allowing emotion to guide you almost as instinct, it can save your life. So I disagree. I don't think everybody is run by their emotions. I think there's a part of your brain, and there's the reptile, mammalian, and then the prefrontal cortex, human parts of your brain. And the human part of your brain is the logical step-by-step making plans and planning ahead. That's the part of your that's the part of you that can outthink the emotional mammalian part, and a lot of those emotions are there to guide you. Like the fear of starving to death will make you look for food above all else.
Yep.
The that ripping feeling in your gut when there's no companionship makes you seek a mate. There's it's really an evolutionary guidance. We don't really have sort of like ant-like shared memories, but we have this emotion these emotions that can carry us through. But I feel it's a mammalian, a simple mammalian part of the brain where
I like where this is going.
The logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, allows you to feel that anxiety or feel that love and then go, well, you know what? I'm not going to act on that.
Analyze it and act accordingly, logically. That
I don't like the word logically, but I like the word working against it. Because sometimes you can use your brain and everything says you're doing the right thing, but it's illogical.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
So
that too also could illustrate a difference between the thing we talked about, that phenomenon between when you're talking about one person versus many people. One person tends to act very, at least by those higher parts of the brain, away from a reptilian stimuli response into more of the mammalian and human portions of the brain that allow for introspection and higher capabilities, higher decision making. Whereas on that meta scale, the responses that come from hive mentality and mob mentality are very much closer to that reptilian stuff, where it's fight or flight and
learned responses. Though that's what culture is. It's
sure.
the learned responses and the group think.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We touched upon that with Sarah Fast. It's a really fascinating subject how our habits do control us, and I can certainly I'll be very wide open with anybody out there who's reading books. We certainly picked up on a lot of this wonderful information from a Charles Duhigg novel, and I certainly, for anyone listening, looking to expand your mind and to even understand humanity just a little bit better, I do recommend you seeking him out as an author.
And if you come up with stuff, bring it up on the Good Talk Podcast Discussion Network. Let's have a good talk with everybody.
It's called The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do, and it is reinforced by so much painstaking
Brilliant
research.
book. I'm reading it right now, too. It's great.
I think definitely
when I've not read.
Yeah,
it's
when
outstanding.
When learning how it's crazy because an emotional reaction can trigger a sort of trained habit that will allow you to draw to what you think is a logical conclusion, and it's not always like some crazy scenario or you're paranoid, but they reference in another book I read, and it sort of has to do with the association of habit and response by humans, and this was of course back in the 40s. There was essentially an Asian teacher on the East Coast. He was a professor who had resided here forever. He was out doing sightseeing on the East Coast, and he had travel brochures. Someone saw him from afar and thought that what he had was a camera, and that he was a Japanese spy. And he wasn't even Japanese or even Chinese. He was like Asian, like he was like from like the Philippines or another foreign country. And the immediate response, and it spread like a wildfire. They thought there was a fucking Japanese spy right there taking pictures of American installations, and he didn't even have a fucking camera.
Well, this is during the time we were putting American
of course.
citizens in concentration
But it never.
camps.
But because of the situation. In the outside world,
Right.
the conclusion never even occurred to anybody.
That's a cultural response right there.
We just
it was
lived
a
through
learned
that
behavior.
kind of panic.
Yeah.
Sure, we're still going through it now.
I mean, but that is a completely manipulated person and a completely manipulated society, and those people are forced into thinking like that because of what they're reading and seeing and being told all the time, and not having a critical mind and not being able to come up with a critical thought of their own. And you know what? I taught my kids, look, I have great kids. My kids are awesome. They never got in trouble, knock wood. They do good in school. They're terrific children.
Sure.
And you know what? I didn't have to parent a lot. I mean, I didn't have to tell them constantly what to do and what not to do. Why? Because I gave them critical minds.
Mm-hmm.
I would sit there with my child when he was young, and we'd be watching TV. And, like an ad would come on, and it would be a woman, and she'd be really excited about her dish soap.
Right.
And I'd ask my child, is that lady really that excited about dish soap?
Right.
And he would think about it. And he would go, no, she's not.
No.
She's being paid to act like that.
Right.
And that kind of cynicism...
Dish soap has never made me that happy.
That kind of cynicism has helped my son along. He's a very good thinker now because of that.
Right.
And most of us are just not... I don't like generalizing and saying most of us, all of us, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I
That's tough to get
don't
away
see
from.
a lot of critical thinkers.
Right.
I just see people who go with what they're told or enjoy going with what they're told,
Right.
and building up on that hype. The crap I saw online was just this troll culture that we've created online. Has made it socially acceptable for you to just pile on and have a good old time at everybody else's expense.
No repercussions.
And that kind of thing is like, that's fine. You can have your fun, but you know what? There are going to be consequences to what you're doing.
Yes.
So create all the fake news stories you like. There are going to be bad things that occur because of this. The bill comes due.
Yeah.
And we're not jumping politically, but that is a reference to Pizzagate. For anyone who doesn't know, essentially, some shitbag online created a rumor that they were human trafficking at that place, children, and essentially a vigilante went in there and shot employees. Right? That's how the story went down, and that is the tragedy of misinformation and really. Why can't we be more efficient in our search for logical conclusions? It's all there.
Just
the information's
thinking
there.
for yourself.
That person, quote unquote, did think for themselves, and they thought they were doing justice and they were going to go in there and be a hero and prevent this human trafficking. And look, jokes on him and the poor person who died and people who were injured, and you created this terrible tragedy from a fake situation. And we're getting to a point now where it's all so diluted. There's no filtration system that will remove fake news. I read recently that Facebook will block. There was somebody had introduced an app that would seek out and essentially destroy and remove and prevent fake news. Targeted fake news, because it's out there, and Facebook blocked the ability for you to use that and to filter out what is actually the fake news. And that's a weird and powerful statement, and I haven't researched the entirety of it, and perhaps there's more to it in terms of like the privacy rights, but that's weird and creepy.
What do you think was going on in that guy's life that made him go? He read the stories, he was reading the posts, and he goes on to WikiLeaks and sees some the word pizza in some email from Podesta. And what was he thinking that made it?
How is that still okay?
Well, no. What was the trigger that made him go, you know what? I'm not that far from there. I'm going to get my car and take my gun up to Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I'm going to go look for myself. Because we all know where it is. Why isn't anybody doing something? And what kicked off that vigilante impulse that made I'm not assuming he was a rational person to begin with, but let's say he was a rational person to begin with. I'm sure he wasn't sitting at home and came up with this on his own. And so he read some things. It got his goat. But there's something you could read the same thing, and there's something in your head, that little voice in your head that goes, this is horseshit.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get in my car and drive there. But with this guy,
they'll study him and they'll find out. And in 20 years, we'll be able to read about it, and some historian will piece together.
And I'm sure he was sitting there going, everybody knows this basement is full of these little kids that they're stealing. Why can't somebody just go there and look? And so
why can't you just trust that maybe the police already have? If it's out there on the internet,
But there's something that turned this guy into a vigilante. And believe me, if there
was the trigger?
If there was a basement full of kids, we'd be
boom.
praising this guy's name right now.
Yeah.
But because
that's the weirdest
but that's the weirdest thing is come on, it's like
well, the other scary thing is even if you do go so far as to follow that trigger, you're making a massive supposition when you go in there that just every employee is automatically involved. What if the poor guy behind the counter was just the dude working that day?
But they've been told that the devil is there and telling people what to do, and these are Satan worshipers, and
it's this whole thing.
When Jack Chick died, me and my D&D friends were it was like a sad day for us because that guy really. Him and his little pamphlet about the dangers of Dungeons and Dragons and how it led to Satanism.
Wait, slow down. They handed out pamphlets that D&D was dangerous
back in the 70s and 80s.
Expand on that, please.
When I was going to church in the 80s, my family routinely would go through my bedroom and throw out all my D&D books because having a D&D book. That's inviting the devil into your house.
Right.
And if demons are in the house, nobody can have a good time. It's like nobody's going to have a good job if there are demons in the house. And so routinely, that would happen. Well, Jack Chick, he had these little pamphlets. They were not pamphlets, these little booklets. They're about this big. They're about 4 inches by 2 inches. And there was a little comic strip.
Okay.
And he dealt with a bunch of topics. There were a bunch of different little books like this. It was usually a Christian topic. Or it was always a Christian topic.
The dangers of the occult.
And it was always really fringy stuff. And he did one, I think it was called Dangerous Dungeons or something like that. You can get a PDF online now with it. You can actually still get them. And we used to search them out in cities. And
I bet they're collector's
The story in there is about a high school girl who gets invited to play D&D with her friends. And she plays D&D with her friends and becomes really connected with her character. And then at some point she reaches a quote unquote high enough level in D&D that they begin teaching her the quote unquote real magic, which used to piss me off because I played D&D it used to make me angry because I played D&D for a long time and nobody offered to teach me the real magic.
When do I get to fucking learn magic?
And it was I was really upset by that.
Trying to shift gears here.
And so, but what it did, it caused a little bit of a hysteria. Against Dungeons and Dragons back in the 80s.
What area did you live in?
This was nationwide, but I lived in Colorado, or I lived in Duluth, Minnesota, and then Denver, Colorado.
Okay, so it was mostly certainly a church-based thing. That was it in schools? Because I thought it was pretty friendly in schools, although you were a nerd.
Yeah, those little information racks in the front of churches.
Yeah, of course.
It's these things would usually be in there, and then you'd also find them at
right next the alcoholism one
shops,
and whatever.
Arcades, anywhere kids sort of just hung out because it was a comic.
Right.
So you'd grab it and you'd flip through it and you're like, oops,
this is gonna make me into a Satanist.
How many people were actually more inspired to play D&D by that, and which led to the eventual disappointment that you didn't get to learn how to cast any spells in the end?
Right, but some of us, as critical thinkers, were like, this is hysterical. This guy's nuts, And there's a comedian, and his name is David Cross, and David Cross is he was like, he's like, he couldn't stand being in church because he was just like, okay, he's like reading the book and he's like, are you fucking crazy? He's like, where are the unicorns and shit? So, and I'm not bad mouthing that stuff, but I'm just saying it's like, it's so outer limits, this Jack Chick comic, that we collect them,
right,
and just giggle about it. And there's always inside jokes about it. Well, the guy just died like 2 weeks ago, and so me and my friends were holding vigils. And
like a Ouija board trying to talk to Jack Chick.
We were just like,
teach us your real magic, Jack
candles
Chick.
And all your old comic strips all hanging up everywhere.
We were wondering what took the Dark Lord so long to get this guy.
It'll be if he was raising all those flags,
and stopping so many people. Actually, it was probably pretty good for the book company because routinely I had to go and rebuy these expensive books, but. They were called.
Looks like Al and Tipper Gore were involved with this guy too.
I think they were, and it's sort of like the.
If you know anything about Tipper Gore,
I want to say, the sort of
she's responsible for the
parental
explicit lyrics.
Yeah. And anyway, I don't know what were we talking about.
I don't know.
Anyway,
stuff. D&D.
Yeah, it really kind
of
snowballed from D&D. We emanated
heroes versus villains.
No. We emanated from the power of emotion or logic,
that's right.
and why does emotion trump logic or vice versa?
So obviously D&D.
Yeah. So when you go down that rabbit hole, it's gonna get you back to where Justin still resides in part of his own mind, and that's in his D&D world. Yeah. Like there's a percentage of your brain that's just living there right now. It's stuck there. You're still rolling characters, geeking out.
Can I tell you how the pamphlet ends?
Fuck
so
yeah.
the girl,
I want to know about it.
The girl is taught.
Right. What happened to the girl?
The girl is brought into the coven, and she's taught magic. And then at some point, they're playing D&D, and they're still playing with all the cultists, and they're playing D&D, and her character dies, and her character dies, and then another character is like, oh no, they killed Lotus or whatever the character's name was, and a couple of pages later in that little comic that they used to give kids, she killed herself.
Oh, geez.
And then the very last couple of pages is her being tormented by devils in hell.
Oh, holy shit. That is
really
intense.
Yeah, she was being tormented by demons, and it was just like, okay, this is like crazy. Let's give this to my children. I was feeling like real uppity one time, and I was at they were giving them away at they were giving these things away at a parade. And they handed one to my son, who was like 4. And I took it away from my son, and I walked up to the guy, and I said, how can you give this trash to my children? I was like, how dare you give this kind of do you know what the end of this, how traumatic this is in children? I'm full of shit. Like, I really don't care.
You may as well.
I kept it. I was like, but it was
a little recreational outrage.
Getting your soul sent to the fucking spirit realm, just burning.
Well, they act outrageous, so sometimes you have to act even more outrageous, and so they can see the weird hypocrisy that's going on there. And it's
So you trolled him.
As much as I can.
I do it all for the laws.
A lot.
You totally trolled that guy.
Yeah, I do it a lot.
Well, that's kind of silly. I think a lot of people have probably maybe tried that with a Jehovah's Witness. When they've come to your house. I
love that. That's one of my favorite.
Some people just shut them down.
No.
Some people,
invite them in.
No, come on, man.
Invite them in. Have a long. I keep them there until they're trying to escape. Because I've read the book, and so I logically start to mess with them until they're leaving. And my wife will attest to this. We could get her on the phone. There was one time where the women were leaving the house, and I was following them out, and they literally drove away, rolling the windows up as I was walking down the street. And then they tried to avoid me for a while, those two that I sort of scared out of the house. And it wasn't me being angry. It was me being, well, what about this? What about that? And I was
just catching them in logical shit.
And so what happened was I was playing in the backyard with my kids, and they brought one of the elders from their church over to set me straight.
Oh yeah.
And so they came up and they said, Justin, we'd like to talk to you about this. I said, I was like, I appreciate you guys coming over, and I knew what was going on. So to make it worse, I wanted them to have gotten that guy all the way over there for no reason at all. Right. And so I know this is so mean. I mean, they really thought they were doing a good thing. And so they basically, I turned it around on them by saying, do you mean Jehovah would rather me talk to you than play with my child?
Right.
And they never, those people would literally,
Oh my God.
they would
That's so
skip
funny.
my house on the route through the neighborhood.
This
And,
guy's too smart.
Oh, I'm
We gotta
just
skip
rude.
him.
No, I'm evil. I mean, I read I played D&D.
You're
so
worldly and all kinds of
I
shit.
played
I read
Dungeons
into
and
that
Dragons.
Jehovah's Witness stuff.
I'm
too.
going
Yeah,
straight.
I think that's fucking fantastic, and although I don't encourage any hostility per se to Jehovah's Witnesses, I think
no need for
trolling them.
hostility.
no.
I'm not saying
Have
you,
a little
you did
bit of
that.
fun.
What I think it is, it's fun. Bring them in, see how they respond to your world, see how they will exchange information with you, and let them in. See how
did
they
it
would
to,
apply your logic to their world.
I did almost the same thing once. Okay, can I tell another story?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
man.
I almost did. My wife and I were in a vacation. We're on a vacation in Las Vegas. We're staying at the Flamingo, and right next door is a little casino. And when you go inside, there was somebody there. Hey, we'll give you $100 per person in tokens.
Oh, yeah.
And tickets if you come and listen to this guy try and sell you
Timeshare or
property.
whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So we got
I
nothing.
fell for that too.
No, I didn't fall for it.
I did.
I begged for it, and so I was like, my wife was like, you want it? I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, this is going to be the most fun ever.
Yeah.
So they get us all together. They put us in a van. They take us to a location. Then, the main guy stands up in front of the board and talks about how buying, like land and Pahrump is the smartest thing you could ever do. We'll help you get the finance, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of that, they split you up with a specialist, which is a salesman, and his job is to get you to sign. And so what my job at that point is to just, I'm already here, so let's have some fun with this.
Sure.
So I start grilling him with questions about water tables and the nuclear power plants and how much sun is, and just I really am burdening this guy with questions. Well, when I look up from this discussion I'm having with this guy, I realize we're the last ones in the room.
Yeah.
Everybody else is left. So the guy stands up and he's like, oh, yeah. So walk with me. So we're walking and talking and I'm like, yeah, dude, I totally got this jerk off. I was like so proud of myself. And he's like, yeah, that's great. And he's like, okay, well, and I'm like, great. If you can send me some more information. He's like, absolutely. And he's like, okay, well, let's just get you paid. This is, obvious, and so he walks us through the lobby of this hotel, opens up a door, walks us out into the parking structure and slams the door and leaves us in a parking structure and not some beautiful.
Because you missed the van by now.
I did.
Oh,
and this guy knew it. And so the guy stranded us out in the parking structure, 110 degrees.
What a dick.
And we're outside.
No
and I'm
payday.
I'm looking around and I'm like, the agreement is they have to pay us. So I get that he just got me. I said, but so I looked over and there was a window and we got paid out, but they were just like, find your own way back, asshole.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, it was like, I got them, they got me. It's like,
that was a dose of instant karma, my friend.
I thought I was being super clever and it had never been done before. And obviously,
All right.
Oh,
yeah.
I wasn't the first.
Those guys
You're not
see
the first
all
guy.
kinds.
Oh man, that's their whole job is to sniff people like me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. If
He's telling
you've
the same
thought of it,
story.
somebody else probably
He's
has
telling the
too.
same story, but from him, and I walked the guy out, and then I slammed him.
Slammed
in the door.
He thought he got me real good.
Yeah. So.
Just right in that moment where you feel like you've been the most clever fucking guest of all time, and he's
thinking
like,
I'm the
"Oh."
agent of karma, thinking I'm the one doing the right thing, and then karma slams me in the back of the head.
As a matter of fact, karma
Donkey punches
wasn't.
me.
Yeah, karma was in fact a double agent, and it fucking fooled you right
I told
there.
somebody that the other day. They're like, "Oh, that guy's really going to get karma, for that." And I'm like, maybe that guy was acting as karma,
Right?
Don't you think?
Oh yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
possibility too. Like,
I think it's
the
possible
guy's
that we
a jerk,
encounter
but
agents
maybe,
of karma.
Maybe
in
that
our
guy
everyday
was
life.
the guy actually doling out.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Well, if you believe
You never know where you are on the order of
Right.
karma coming and going.
Well, if you want to be a jerk, really, you're okay to be a jerk because obviously
you deserve it.
Well, no,
if I'm being a jerk to you, then you deserve it.
Well, but yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's
you're
there was
acting
there
as
was
the
an argument
agent.
about that in some kind of Eastern religion as to like essentially no matter what happens, you could say that it was karmic action. Like
Yeah.
if I murder you, you were asking for it.
Right.
If
it was really on you.
right, it's really on you. It wasn't. I was just acting as an agent of karma.
All right, guys. I want to close on a
Oh, boy.
theme
So
of one of
closing on
my
that.
of one of my absolute favorite favorite fucking realms of this universe in human creativity and art and cinema. There is, of course, a new Star Wars movie releasing this week.
There is.
I don't have to plug that, but it's Rogue One. I'm super fucking pumped about it.
Are you guys going on Thursday?
I don't know if I'll get there Thursday right away and with the crowds, but I'm getting there. That's a foregone conclusion.
If I make it to, if it depends. If I go to Fargo, I've got tickets waiting for me. But
So
if not, I have to figure out a way.
With that being said, better Jedi, Obi Wan Kenobi or Anakin Skywalker? We're gonna geek out. Like who?
You mean better, more powerful, or
yeah, more accomplished. Better Jedi, better swordsman, more powerful with the Force. However you want to encompass that question. Better Jedi. Obi Wan or Anakin Skywalker.
There's a couple of different things to take into account here.
Yes,
like,
there are.
Like better as in, okay, like Obi Wan is obviously the better guy, the better, like if this was a religion, he's the guy who's actually following the religion and being the better quote unquote Jedi.
Right.
Where Anakin is sort of
Anakin
like a
went
force
Sith.
of nature,
He was
and so
DQ'd.
he was created by the Force, so he's much more powerful. But the better swordsman, I think Obi-Wan was probably the better trained. Qui-Gon was a pretty big badass, and
Obi-Wan spent a lot of time with Yoda as well, and Qui-Gon is super
and
awesome.
so that guy actually knew his stuff. He only lost to Vader because he quit. He allowed himself to be killed. So, Darth Sidious technically is supposed to be the best swordsman that the Jedi ever produced. Now I think he got beat by Anakin. He's the one who lopped his head off. Anakin lopped his head off when they were rescuing the Emperor. Remember?
You're talking Count Dooku.
Count Dooku.
Count Dooku.
Oh, Dooku. Yeah.
Darth Sidious is of course Emperor Palpatine. But
yeah.
I feel like Obi-Wan has the better resume. And we're only sticking with the movie realm here because that the expanded universe, you're going through eons, and I love all the expanded universe stuff. But even in throughout all the films, and Obi-Wan has more notches on his belt, if you will. Mm-hmm. He has definitely been
in D&D
a catalyst of power and defeating.
He's a higher level. He's got a higher level in Jedi, where Anakin just has a higher level in
brutality.
Yeah, just crazy.
Utter
savagery, strength,
power.
You care to throw out any predictions for this Star Wars film, or what is perhaps in store for us in 8? Closing predictions on Star Wars Episode 8 or Rogue One?
I'm just looking for. Honestly, I loved that Disney bought Star Wars because Disney has the best writers and the best studio in the world.
Resources for days.
I know a lot of people were disappointed with Episode 7, and I was not. I was expecting it.
The minority. There's so many. No way.
It was great.
I like the trailers that I've seen. I like the cinematic. I like the way they're. I like the filming, the style of the movie in the trailer.
Like the flavor.
Well, it looks more like a straight-out action movie. Yeah, Rogue One.
Rogue One, it is suggested, will perhaps be the most gritty and warlike of all Star Wars films. Sure. It's not Jedi-centric. We're finally getting a story absent the Skywalkers for the most part.
There's one Jedi. Vader's in it.
Oh, right, okay.
And maybe there's a hidden Jedi that pops up in the movie. You don't know. I don't know any spoilers about the movie, but I know it's not about the Jedi, whereas every other film essentially did. It was, and so
this is the story I've been waiting to hear: is the rise of the Empire as they're building up and taking over the galaxy. Yeah. That's the one I've wanted.
Conquering planets and setting up supply lines and manipulating gathering resources to control the galaxy.
Enormous Death Star build,
Well, actually, that's exciting to me. Showing us how difficult the Death Star was to create. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like because we all are just like, oh, it's a big laser gun.
And this is, maybe we'll get a little bit of flavor of Vader really coming into his own and getting some swagger about him. last we saw, he was still very confused. Padme had just been killed, the kids and all this other stuff. He's wearing the cape and everything like that, and he's in his mask. So sure, he's Vader, but he's not Vader yet. He's still just this confused Anakin. Is all he is. He's got to become that powerful guy with a little bit of
the cruelty is there, and
he's very angry.
It's going to be fantastic. I love how the cast looks. I'm enjoying the presentation, and I think we can all agree that, as Justin suggested, Disney purchasing Star Wars and bringing it to the future is
a great move.
The best thing that could ever happen for all Star Wars fans. So let us know out there, guys, at the Good Talk 5 on Twitter what you think about the new Star Wars movie, or how you would apply your thoughts to any of the amazing questions we've explored here tonight. Again, we do have a new Facebook group. It's public. It is the Good Talk Discussion Network, so find us there. Justin, you care to plug anything in departure? Posemuse.com. Find his books. That, my friends, has been a good talk.
Maps.org. Good talk.